watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN, and now TSPN presents Love, Hope, and Faith with Heather Murdock.
Good morning and welcome to Love, Hope, and Faith. My name is Heather Murdock and I'm so happy to be with you today. I hope you've had a blessed week, and I've had an amazing week since I last was here with you, and I'm just so blown away by what God does in people's lives when we allow Him in and when we allow Him to use us for His purpose. And I hope that when you watch the show, my prayer is that when you watch Love, Hope, and Faith, you will be inspired by what you hear from my guests, and you will be inspired with truth and with love, and that you will know that no matter where you've been, there's hope, and no matter where you've been, there's a higher power, and He's Jesus Christ, and that He loves you and He wants to use you in powerful, amazing ways. And I just got done last week speaking at my first women's retreat. I think I shared that with you, and I just want you to know as a little update that it was so amazing. Jesus did so many incredible things as He knit us together, this group of women, 65 of us, that just spent the weekend together glorifying in Jesus and being healed on all of our past hurts, just giving those to Him and allowing Him to just work in us and through us to each other. And it was a profound weekend, and the weekend was all about learning how to have an intimate, deep, personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And I'm a big believer that through my own personal experience that it's through that deep personal relationship that we find true victory. And all the stories we hear of people in the Bible who had victorious lives and were conquerors through their hardships, it's because they had that deep relationship with Him. And we can't be superficial with Jesus. We have to go deep. And when we go deep, the riches are just endless. And I'm not talking material riches. I'm talking about eternal riches that will just blow your mind if you allow Him to use you, if you allow Him into your life. And I have two amazing guests today, speaking of all that are going to share how God's used them as they went on a mission trip. And so without further ado, I'm going to be introducing to my left here, I have Eldon Nice. Hi, Eldon.
Hi.
And I have Jason Richardson, and you guys may remember Jason's been on. He's our youth, is a director or pastor at this point?
Pastor for now.
Okay, good. Youth pastor at the Nazarene Church. And Eldon, you also attend our Nazarene Church?
Correct.
So good to have you guys. And pardon me, I knew that when, obviously I knew that you guys were going to Peru for your mission, and I remember talking to you guys before and saying, I have to get you on the show when you come back. And I've heard some of Jason's testimony about how he was transformed by the trip, but I want to hear more about that. And I haven't heard any of your story hardly. And so can you just give us a background, Eldon? First of all, you've been a Christian for many years.
Correct.
And we won't say how many years, right? Just many years. And tell me about what your walk with the Lord's been like previous to this trip, or previous to the last few years.
Well, it's been up and down somewhat. Fill the pew, go to church, pay my tithe, be a good guy, and go to work, and not a lot of involvement in the church the last 8 or 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Going through the motions?
Going through some motions.
Yeah. So what changed?
Well, about a year ago, we actually had a special speaker at church, and he talked about the collective heart of the church, and I realized through his speaking that I wasn't contributing much to the collective heart of the church, just being there. Then our pastor spoke about loving the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And that really moved me to want to be more involved in the church and not just warming a pew.
So I know you've heard those scriptures a million times before. So what do you think was the difference maker? Do you think it was the Holy Spirit just really, it was your timing to be stirred?
Just listening, open.
Yeah.
Tired of just going through the motions.
Yeah. Kind of feeling empty a little bit?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So you had that moment, that reawakening, I guess you could say, right? And then what happened?
Well, as far as the Peru trip, it was at that time we found out about the opportunity. My wife, Colina, had always wanted to go on a missions trip. And
you never been on one prior to this?
I had gone to Ensenada, Mexico, back in the 80s or sometime, 90s, forget when, for a week or so there, but had never been anywhere else, been a long time.
Yeah. And so they talked about it. How'd you find out about the Peru trip? I don't remember them talking about it at church.
Well, we have some friends, Bud and Judy Grum,
Yeah.
that are in the church, and they're heavily involved with an organization called Extreme Nazarene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they got us information, and we were like the first ones to sign up. We actually paid our fees last December, almost a year ago, to be able to go. And we said, we're going, we're committed to this, no matter what happens. That's a big step of
Yeah,
faith.
be careful to say that in God's world.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it just, and as you're aware, some things have happened since then, that have made it, that statement of faith was really tested.
Well, tell us what happened.
Well,
If that's okay.
At the end of June, I lost my job. And
And you worked in that job for how many years?
I worked in that job for 16 years. I
Yeah.
was in the funeral industry and was well paid and managing, and everything was going great. And then I lost my job, and the first thing my wife said is, "Oh, we're going to have to not go to Peru." And I said, "No, we really believe that God wants us there for this moment in our lives." And I said, "We're going to go no matter what." And we did.
And she was on board with that.
And she was on board with
Well,
it.
so look, Hazel, let me put you on the spot a little bit, because we did talk off camera before the show started, and you were saying that you had a real comfortable life, and money was kind of like your God. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to
Okay,
say.
yeah.
I mean, it was very central. I mean, I'm a fanatic with balancing my checkbook and watching every penny and knowing and very secure in the fact that I was making a good wage and saving money and so I think God realized that I needed some testing
Yes,
in,
I would say
in that
so.
area,
Yeah,
of my life. And so and it's been a walk of faith,
So how did you feel when you first got the news that you lost your job? Because you had already had this reawakening, but you were still
Right.
had your job. So he was preparing you to.
Really it was a relief to
Yeah.
lose my job. The stress and some things, and being able to do more even in the church. I've had time to do some things, as you're aware of, with the Christian education of the church. And
you're the missions director too, right?
And missions director of the church, and so it's allowed me some freedom to be able to do some things that my work schedule would not have allowed.
Right, absolutely. Amen to that. So God kind of ripped out the idol for you and said, "You're going to worship me," right? Yeah.
Correct.
So good. Okay. So you'd already paid for the trip, so you didn't have to worry about that end of it.
Correct.
So what were some of the worries, though, going into the preparing for the trip? What were some of your concerns? Or did you have any?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I was very excited about going. Of course, going in a different culture, different. I don't think anybody could have prepared us mentally, physically for what we went through as far as going to the jungles of Peru and the heat, and I mean that was rice every day for meals. I liked rice before I went. I'm not sure that I want to have rice for a while. But no, I was.
You didn't have any fears about
No.
what you might experience? Or,
No.
That's good. That's good. How about your wife?
I think she was a little apprehensive about how she would be able to contribute in different areas. She's a little shyer.
Yeah. That's good, though. I'm sure she has her own unique stories to share. Maybe one of these days I'll get her on. Good. Okay, so I want to hear all about the trip, obviously, but I want to now hear Jason. How did you know? Because you've been the youth pastor now for the last, couple of years?
Year and a half, right in there.
Yeah. Okay. And so you have always had a heart for the lost. I know you personally, because you and I have served alongside each other at the wellness center and things like that. I know you have a heart for the lost.
Definitely.
So, and you have the heart for the kids, so teenagers, all kids, the youth. And so, how did you get yourself into this? How did this all come about for you?
Well, I've been on mission trips. I have a heart for the local missions. I have a heart for youth, teens, and two of our teenagers were going on the trip. So I was told, "You're your youth pastor.
You're
Here
going."
you go. You're going." I'm like, "I'll go to help them experience and guide them along the way, and see if this is what they need to do the rest of their life, or if it's what they want to do." And so I had that mindset. I was going because I had to, and I just cared about what happened to those two teens there. What I was their protector in a sense, because we had that American idea: you're gonna get killed, stolen, anything.
Right.
So I was their protector / youth pastor, and
well, the pastor does protect his flock anyway, right?
That's true.
Yep, absolutely.
So that was my reason for going.
And you're probably like, "Thanks a lot, girls. You got me into this."
A little bit.
Yeah.
But definitely changed my plans once I got there.
Yeah.
So it was God's calling me and reworking my life, and I always said I'm not going on any more mission trips foreign unless it's to help youth, and that's why I went.
And I love what you said, having a passion for the local mission, because there's the local mission field, because there are so many needs right here in our community, and we have an amazing community of people who do care and do volunteer. And I love to see, when people are realizing that the need is right here, but I've never been on a mission trip, and I know that going on a mission trip to a different country is probably more transformational in some ways, to see how people really live and what they don't have and how they live through that, and so I can't wait to hear more about that. We do have to head to a break. I know the 12 minutes goes by pretty quickly. We're going to go to a break, and when we get back, we're going to hear from Eldon and Jason exactly how God spoke to them through this trip and what they saw. So do stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
To Love, Hope, and Faith. And today we are talking about going to Peru on a mission trip. And we're talking about missions. And I want to talk more about what it means to go on a mission and why we should be doing that. But first, let's talk about what you saw there. And I know that both of you, honestly, my kids, go to youth group on Wednesday nights. And Lily said that you look different. It is pretty cool for an 11-year-old to pick up on that. She said, "Jason looks different," and so
all the rice,
yeah.
Sweating the rice.
You're a little tanner. You're a little tanner. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
No, but it is true. I feel
it reminded me of the
different.
Transfiguration, and which the likeness of Christ, and being transfigured by the Holy Spirit working in you guys over this trip. So tell me what the conditions were like. What was it like being there? Because I know we have some pictures too, and Tommy will be showing some of the pictures while we're talking, so people can see it.
We anticipated, from what we were told, that it was going to be pretty rustic. Our hostel that we stayed in was actually a little better than we had anticipated, but if they show some pictures, the collective bathrooms that we all had to share, 3 stalls and 3 showers and cold water. And,
which I'm sure you're grateful for. It was so hot there, right?
Yeah, it was. And the heat and the humidity was something that is hard to describe. I've been in the South and New Orleans and places, Hawaii, and I've never experienced anything in heat and humidity and try to work in it as we experienced there in Peru.
Well, what city was it, or what town, or what part of Peru?
I'm going to leave Jason to say the name. I'm terrible with it.
It's a little village off the Amazon called Tamshaku.
Tamshaku, and it's right on the Amazon, isn't it?
It's right on the Amazon.
Because I saw some of the pictures right there by the water,
It's in northern Peru. You go to Iquitos and then follow the river down a little bit. It's right there, small, tiny little area.
And the Amazon, what condition is the Amazon River in?
It was very low. We were in the dry season, so it was low. But one of the tour days, the guide was saying it's 50% of the world's fresh water.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did not know that.
I had no
idea. But I'm looking at this water. It's brown as can be. There's bags of garbage floating down it. There's sewers drain right into it. Wow. So it's not like a beautiful river or Tiger Creek or any of that. It's pretty dirty water.
Wow.
And logs, a lot of logs floating, a lot of debris floating down the river.
How wide is the river at that area?
80 feet wide, maybe more than that.
80 feet.
Yeah, a couple. It's really big.
Yeah, okay.
It's the biggest river I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah,
so the people, that's where they bathe, and that's where they get their water and everything all in the same place. Is that true?
Well, there is a city water system in the town, and so they pull out of the Amazon, I think, and filter it some, and you get a clear water coming out of the faucets. Some of it are hostile. They also used a lot of rainwater. That they collected in tanks up on the roof, and so we used that water. Didn't drink it.
Yeah. So did you guys get sick? I know Jason did.
I did. I was the first one on the first Sunday that we were there. Saturday night I started getting it. I was just miserable all day Sunday. I had to give a devotional Sunday night. I did not want to do it. I mean, I was fighting with God about, how could he make me sick, ask me that and be so sick, but he was with me, gave me strength for that moment, and went through that night and started taking some parasite medication and went to the job, and really by the end of the week when we were ready to go, I was feeling great, like I could stay another week or two.
Good. So were you taken aback by the conditions? I know you had an expectation, but did they exceed your expectations in terms of the poverty and the way that people lived?
No, I don't. At least for myself, I think I kind of thought that what we saw, in the homes, to be there to actually experience the dirt floors and the banana leafed roof homes and things that we experienced was, I kind of envisioned that some, but to do it firsthand was still quite an experience to be a part of.
Was it, how many people live there in the village? Do you know estimation? Hundreds, thousands?
Thousands.
They say on the internet that it's from 5,000 to 8,000 people.
Okay.
But that has to be out quite a large circumference. But it's amazing how many homes are just right next to one another, and you can have 6-8 people in a home. It's not uncommon, from what I saw, for families to have 5 or 6 children.
And it's one-room houses, right? One-room homes, or they have.
It's probably a 12 by 10 house tops with some partitions in between. Sometimes a curtain. Sometimes.
And
nothing.
One of the things that you shared with us at youth group, Jason, was that some of the kids that were having kids. I mean, you said that some of the 11 and 12-year-old kids were getting married, or not even married, just hooking up, kind of, I guess you could say, and then having their own children. And is that because is the culture, is part of the reason that there's so many children is that it brings up new workers? Is that part of it?
I think a lot of disease, you lose kids, so you have to have more, many different reasons. Just family status, the more kids you have kind of deems you higher, but definitely work and just help around the house. There's a lot of kids I noticed, 4-year-olds babysitting their 2-year-olds, and definitely to help around the house.
Yeah. And they work all day long. And how much money do they make after a hard day at work?
What I heard was about a sole a day, which is like 38 cents a day.
Wow.
We had one guy that installed some windows and doors on the church that we built, and I heard that he was making like a solis and a half or something per window, which there would be 4 of them, so he's going to make 6 solises, which would be equivalent to about $3 or something like that. And it took him at least 2 days to do all this work.
And what can that buy? And what can that buy them? What's the cost of living
half a soda.
Okay. Wow. Hopefully they're not buying sodas with it.
3 kilos of rice was about 3.5 soles.
Oh my gosh.
About 1.5 pounds. I'm not good with that math, but it's not very much.
So your purpose there was to build a church, right? Is that what you went there for?
It was twofold. We have actually construction that went on, and then we had what was called Impact, which was we ran a lot of like health type clinics. We talked about personal hygiene, brushing your teeth, and how to properly brush your teeth, and we handed out toothbrushes and toothpaste. One Thursday when I was in Iquitos, we handed out 100 toothbrushes and little tubes of toothpaste and probably 40 little baggies with antifungal, antibiotic cream, eye drops, what we consider really basic kind of health things, but are really, I mean, people would literally almost stampede you to get these simple,
basic essentials,
medical things, and so we taught them like that hygiene, and would actually ask them questions. When's the time you should wash your hands? After you go to the bathroom, after you change the baby. Well, we kind of think of just common sense.
Right.
We were training them. So, and then as a result of that, there was usually some kind of an evangelistic appeal given to bring not only physical cleanliness, but heart cleanliness. We had a wonderful Peruvian pastor, Elvin Diaz, who is just a gifted man of God, and he would lead the group in prayer, and you just see all these people hungry for Jesus. I mean, it was just amazing.
Was this the first time that many of them had heard the word, or had there been other missionaries coming through on a regular basis?
I think there had been some, but it was like it was just new and fresh for them, and they were just so hungry.
Yeah. And so they obviously speak Spanish. So do either of you speak Spanish?
Enough to get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
So what was that like overcoming the communication barriers?
It wasn't hard.
Yeah.
And we had translators and enough people in the group that could speak Spanish, and when we needed to, I mean, love communicates, and caring communicates, and some of the great moments, and I'm going to cry, I told you I would, but just sitting and holding little kids in your arms and just knowing that they needed that love, that attention for just a moment in their life was probably one of the greatest things that we did.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can give them money, you can give them everything. I had my American stereotypes: guard your wallet, guard your passport, guard everything. By the third day, it was just a simple hug was all these kids wanted. I turned into a jungle gym because I'm tall for some reason. But you can give them everything, but all they really wanted is some love and attention, because like we said, they have lots of brothers and sisters, one parent sometimes. Hard to get the love they need, and that was the biggest thing. I thought was just showing them love, showing them compassion, things we take for granted every day.
We had one little boy, Eddie, who we would come down the trail. It was right by his house on the way to the church, and he would come running out, 2 or 3 years old, and just grab us and hug everybody, and just was so hungry for our attention and things. It was really moving. You learn to know their names, and
like you said, I mean, the universal language of love. I mean, that's not that you don't need to know the language to give love, and to and I think when you're talking, I'm reminded of the book of Acts, and how people were just able to understand each other's languages, through Jesus, and it seems kind of like that was happening there. Just the Holy Spirit was moving for sure. I want to hear more of your stories. I want to hear some actual stories that kind of changed you, because I know you have one in particular about the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I want to hear more about that. And Jason, you had a couple too. That when we listened to you at youth group, like I said earlier, I cried, hearing your stories, seeing it through your eyes, and
you got me fresh off the plane.
Yeah, and I was so compelled to go. So yeah, I really want to hear more about that. So we're going to head to break. We'll be right back.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
Back to Love, Hope, and Faith, and I want to hear a story. Tell us a story, Eldon. Story time.
Well, probably the most impactful time of my time there in Peru was Thursday, September the 20th. We got up that day. I found out that I was going to be going down the river about an hour into the town of Iquitos to do a health clinic, and do some follow-up with some families. And I was excited because we were going to get to have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
All right.
And so I was asked to make up the sandwiches and finish off a loaf of bread, and we made 12 sandwiches. We got on the boat, we went down there, we went to a church on the outskirts of Iquitos, called Cabo Lopez, and we walked out into the community, invited people to a clinic, and about 10:30 we had like 30 people in the church, and then it started to swell, and it was just amazing. There was probably 120 people by the time we were done. We taught them about hygiene, brushing their teeth, and handed out little care kits of antibiotic cream and eye drops and toothpaste and bars of soap. And it was just amazing how they were, so wanting those items. Grateful for it. And then we had lunch, and we ate our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which was so wonderful after rice and fish and rice and potatoes. Chicken and rice. And anyway, so we had these, and we had 3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches left over. Then our afternoon, we found out that there was a lady in the church who was dying with cervical cancer. And I'm going to have a hard time telling the story. But we went to her home, and I drew in my journal a picture of this home, about maybe 10 by 15, thatched roof, a little concrete slab, maybe 8 by 8 in the front corner of the house. The rest was all dirt floor. And she was laying on a mattress on the floor, a sheet over her, moaning, a young mother, 6 children, and we came in immediately. The local pastor that was with us knelt down and started stroking her hair and praying for her, and we all gathered around. There were 8 of us in the team that day, and we gathered around and began to pray. It was really rather surreal, because right in the room in the house with us was the chicken coop with the rooster crowing and a hen laying on a nest of eggs and pigeons walking across the floor, and in the corner was their little fire pit where they would cook on, and there were some lines strung with clothes, and very, very humble, a place. The father was not there, he was out working, and we prayed, and she was moaning, and then all of a sudden she went silent, and we really thought maybe that God had done the ultimate healing with her, that she had died. In fact, some of the team started feeling for a pulse in her neck and stuff, and her children were there. We gathered them around, we prayed with them. It's hard to describe the situation and how it was, and I held it together while we were in there, and we were praying, and ladies from the group knelt down and prayed with her, and praying that God would touch her and actually bring physical healing to her. And then we moved outside, and it was just like the Holy Spirit just overwhelmed me with the situation, and I began to cry immensely. And then we found out that there was no food in the house, and the father was working, but most of the money was going to the medical bills. And as you were told, income is not that high, and the medical expenses were. And so our 3 extra peanut butter and jelly sandwiches went to that family that day. And I was so happy that we made three extra, because God knew before we ever got there what the need of that family was going to be, and how we were going to be able to minister in a small way. It doesn't sound like a lot, but for them it was everything. And that day I saw malnourished babies, and we had collected some Beanie Babies from the church and took with us down there, and we gave those out to these little babies, and to see their smile as they were to get just a little stuffed toy. That day probably was one that will live forever in my mind.
And how can you come back here to America, the land of plenty, and how can you see it with the same eyes? Even through your story, I'm just thinking about we're so distracted here with all of our plentiness. We're so distracted from God. We're so distracted from each other. You know what I'm saying? We're so distracted by all the options and choices and the opportunities here, and just to be in that simple, like just right in the heart of life and suffering too. You know, to see that, to be a part of that, must have been so intense.
Well, I did make a pledge that I would be more thankful, and I would not complain about what I have, and I've tried to keep that, because we don't have a lot in some respects, but we are really blessed, compared to what I saw.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I want to talk more about, because there's been some questions running through my mind, but I want to first hear from Jason and then kind of go back to that. So, Jason, share with us a story that really touched you.
There are so many. To narrow it down is really hard, but that same day I wasn't with Eldon. I was supposed to be on a different area. We went and met with different people in houses, just went around and prayed for them, prayed for the houses. And I went around with my 2 youth students, and we prayed for all the houses. And I thought, it takes me to go to a foreign country to be able to pray for people I don't know, to actually physically walk through the streets and pray for people. I don't know, last time I walked around the streets of Jackson praying for houses, never happened. But to think I can do that here, I can take that back. Everything while I was over there showed me that, why don't I do this in America? Why can't I do this in America? But my hardest day, I got fully sick. I was stuck in the hotel we were at, and it was just hot, humid, hottest day of summer here times 2, and just stomach wrenching. And I've never had thoughts of suicide. I've never come close to that. But there was a moment where I thought, if I didn't have a home to go to, if I didn't have my wife here, there's no hope. There's no reason for living. And that's how these people, every day, they have the same water sickness, they have the same diseases that we're getting, but there's no cure. There's no hospital for them to run to real quick. If there is, they can't afford it. But there was no hope there. And the thing that kept popping into my head was, there's no hope except for Christ alone.
Yes.
And it gave me a moment to step out of my American thoughts and my thoughts on just being local, and it gave me a chance to really connect to these people like I've never connected before. And then just to know we have the same thing here. We have the same people hurting. They might not be physically sick, they might not be that, but they're spiritually sick, and we need to push just as hard as I do over there back here. I need to be more intentional with people I talk to. Just every moment counts. We don't know what tomorrow holds, as the Bible says, and I really want to, like Eldon said, be thankful for what we have, but also be able to use that, not just sit on it, not just hold up a pew every Sunday, but to really take what I have as an American and use it, both foreign, both local, and just be what Christ called us to be, to go out and make disciples. All nations, local, far. But it just wrecked me. I've been on mission trips before, and the feelings I had while I was there were like no other. I really connected to the people this time. God was working on me, because like I said, I was going for the teenagers that were there. I was going to help them, and God, when you put stipulations on God, He always throws them right out the window. He wrecked me in a way that I will never be the same. I can't be the same, and I give all you permission. Anybody in the streets, just beat me up if you see me being that typical American. It's just, you can't come back from that.
God made us for a deep relationship, and I think what I'm hearing from you guys is you guys experienced that that deep relationship that God made us for. And as I was saying earlier, in America, it seems like we're so distracted by all the things around us that we don't make those deep connections that God made us for with Him or with each other. And so you got to experience that intimacy.
That's it. We were disconnected from the world. We had no phone. I couldn't call my wife for 2 weeks. It was hardest thing. There was no phone, no internet, no Facebook.
No Facebook. What?
No Facebook. We were literally disconnected from this American world and thrown into a culture.
And you had a kid who really touched your heart. Is that the same one, Eddie, that you're talking about?
No, Eddie was a different one. They all did, but there's one kid I really connected with. We had little lanyards that have our picture and name on it, and those things meant so much to him. I gave it to my one friend, Saur. He had a heart like no other. He had nothing. He was actually one of the richer kids, but he still had nothing. It was as simple as I just bought him a pair of sandals because his were broken, and that was 3 soles. That was nothing for me. That's $1.50 for a pair of sandals, and I just gave those to him, and he was so grateful for just a pair of sandals. If I would have given it to somebody here, they would have been like, "This is the wrong color. I'll take it back." Just that appreciative, and just every time I went up to him, we hugged, we said hello, how are you? But it was a different hello. It wasn't the I'm obligated to say hello to you today. It was a loving heart to heart.
Yeah.
Like Eldon said earlier, love speaks.
Exactly. Okay, I don't want to cut you off. I have to go to break. So when we get back, we'll start there. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the last segment. It goes by so quickly, you can't believe it. The Bible, as we mentioned earlier, the Bible calls us to go and make disciples of all nations, and those are the words of Jesus. And today we're talking to 2 who did just that, and it's so exciting to hear. And I can't wait to go on my first mission trip. So, Jason, you were talking about your experience and how God changed you. And the little boy you connected with, although you said you connected with many, but there was one in particular, and you shared with us last week that he wanted to come home with you. Yeah,
that was my hardest day. Was the last night we dedicated the church, and then we're leaving, and he followed me, and I'm trying to say my goodbyes, and I'm walking back with some equipment, and I turned back, and he's on the corner, his hands in his pocket, his head down, just crying, and that I lost it right there. That was it. So then I get back to our hotel, and he had gone on some back streets and followed us there. So I thought I had ripped off that Band-Aid as best as possible, but he was still there again, and we said another heartfelt goodbye. I gave him my business card. I don't know why, but I'm hoping someday they'll get internet or something. I don't know, but it was just really hard.
I'll probably cherish that, Jason, forever.
I hope so. I someday hope to go see him again. It's just the 2 weeks you wouldn't think you could make a connection with somebody, but it was tough leaving, tough. All of them. Like I said, those kids knew us by name. They knew who we were, and we knew who they were. Some of the people there, just the connections so strong, so quick, what God can do in such little time.
God broke your hearts, obviously.
He broke me, broke my heart. Just I can't go back to who I was.
So what did Jesus, what did he reinforce for you? I know you said earlier that you know that you can't waste a moment, and to make those connections with people, and to appreciate, right?
Yep.
And for you too, is that kind of what?
Well, I've always been a little bit of a introvert, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe it.
and not really a people person.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, God showed me that that's really what the kingdom is about. It's not about numbers or statistics or classes,
spreadsheets
or things like that. It's about people, and the need to even though I may not feel totally comfortable with that's where it's at, is reaching people, talking to people, hugging kids. At first I was a little standoffish with the kids, and being able to hug them, being able to just feel closer to them, things like that. The adults, the last day when we left, there was a man from the church who was really faithful. He was at all the services and stuff. He was standing at the dock. They came down to say goodbye to us. And I wanted so badly to say in Spanish to him, Dios bendigo, which is God bless you, mi hermano, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't. I was just so overwhelmed with the fact that he was my brother in Christ. And so I just touched his hand, and I think he knew. That, and that kind of thing is what really probably helped me the most, was just learning to it's okay to get out of that introvert kind of self and let Jesus use me.
Let Jesus pour through you. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I want to ask you both a question. I'll start with Jason. Jason, what would you say to somebody who said, let's say maybe a non-believer or someone who struggles with their faith? What would you say to someone who said, if God's so wonderful, if Jesus is love, why would he allow these people to struggle like this?
Yeah. Before this trip, I don't know if I could answer that fully. I know why fall of man, Adam and Eve, sin, and all that. I know the Bible verse, but now I know it in my heart, and the verse I've been planted is James chapter 1, verse 2 through 6 there. Just in all your trials, God will test you, and He will use these as things you can use for other people. If we would have gone to a happy place, a place where there was hope, where there was these things weren't going on, it wouldn't have been this impactful. I wouldn't have had this feeling, this desire to go out and reach the nations, to reach all the people. It would have meant nothing. So I don't think it says in James that God can't tempt you, but He allows things to happen, I think, so that we can learn from them. My past, the reason I went through all the things I've gone through, so I can help others.
Absolutely.
So.
And that's the one thing that I was sharing earlier with some other friends about the retreat that I spoke at. And I was so overwhelmed that God has used every single hardship in my life, every experience that had me on my knees, that had me desperate and desolate and hopeless, He's used now to help other people. And it's just so amazing. So I can totally relate to that. I mean, I haven't suffered anything compared to these people that you're talking about. I guess none of us have, but still we have our own our own suffering. Each of us have our own cross to bear. So, but how do you answer that question?
Well, I like Jason, have all the theological training and all the theological answers, but the only thing that I can really offer the people is the hope of Jesus. And it seems like not a lot maybe, but it is a great thing, and even for them that they can find, as Paul said, contentment in all circumstances, and they can. One of the things that amazed me, Heather, is that you looked at the kids and they don't have lots of toys. I mean, my grandkids have hundreds of toys, and these kids, though, were always smiling, always laughing, playing with the simplest of sticks and things like that. A tire, but they had a contentment about them, a happiness, that
a joy,
and that is something that I believe that we can offer anybody, that the peace of Jesus, and the strength that He can give them to face each day, no matter what the circumstances are.
Exactly. Our hope does not rest in our circumstances.
Right. And I think that's what we have to offer. I don't have all the answers to your question as far as, why do good people suffer and all that.
I know.
That's the age-old
question.
Job question.
Yeah.
But I just know that we could offer them some peace, some hope, and in their lives.
And how did you guys tell them the Jesus story? Because I know there's actually a movie, right, that you guys showed, or that's commonly shown by missionaries. Tell me more about that. We only have a couple minutes.
Yeah, on Saturday evening they showed the Jesus film, and which has been used worldwide to bring millions of people to Christ. And then afterwards there was a follow-up skit. Jason played the part of Jesus in it.
That's why you look different.
And it depicted some of the evils of the society, and even to the place of the person kind of contemplating suicide, and then Christ comes and rescues them, and it's very impactful. We had 38 people that night alone. And we showed this Jesus film in the town square. Kind of got permission from the officials to do it, and showed it there. And we had 38 actual sign-up people that accepted Christ. And the next day we went out into their homes to reinforce their decisions and
Good. Follow-up.
Immediate follow-up was really crucial in everything that we did with these families.
And how did they respond when they were saved? Did they just bawl? Or did, I mean, from going from hopeless to hopeful, was it?
It was for dramatic? A lot of them. It was just, I don't know that I saw a lot of tears, but it was very definite. They meant it. They wanted it. There was one little boy, Charles, who was there. He we believe that God's going to really use him, and he said, "I want you to come to my house. I want you to tell this story to my mother." And he began to evangelize his family.
That's awesome.
And
That's awesome.
And
That's
God is going to
God
is going to use him in a mighty way.
Oh yeah, that's powerful. That Jesus film's good. The kids and I watched it last weekend. I really like that. There's so much more. Well, there's a whole group, and there's teenagers that went too. Some of our friends from church, and I want to have them on. So in a couple of weeks, I want to see if they can be on, and we'll maybe have you guys back on too. Maybe just kind of rotate you all through, because I know there's so many more stories to share, and there's so much more that we need to hear about. Thank you guys for being on today. I was, as I end the show, I always end it with the devotional "Jesus Calling" by Sarah Young, and I want to read it. It's interesting. I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah, I gotta see though. Okay, there you guys are. No, just kidding. Okay, so October 3rd. When many things seem to be going wrong, trust me. When your life feels increasingly out of control, thank me. These are supernatural responses, and they can lift you above your circumstances. If you do what comes naturally in the face of difficulties, you may fall prey to negativism. Even a few complaints can set you on a path that is a downward spiral, by darkening your perspective and your mindset. With this attitude controlling you, complaints flow more and more readily from your mouth. Each one moves you steadily down the slippery spiral. The lower you go, the faster you slide. But it is still possible to apply the brakes. Cry out to me in my name. Affirm your trust in me, regardless of how you feel. Thank me for everything, though this seems unnatural, even irrational. Gradually, you will begin to ascend, recovering your lost ground. When you are back on level ground, you can face your circumstances from a humble perspective. If you choose supernatural responses this time, trusting and thanking me, you will experience my unfathomable peace.
Good.
That's it.
And you guys experienced that firsthand.
We did.
The peace of Jesus. And you guys came back changed, and I can't wait to see what fruit comes from both of you as a result of this. So, again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It's been a joy. And we have to go. I'm so sad always. So we'll see you next week, next Wednesday. If you want to check out Love, Hope, and Faith on Facebook, where you can check out all the shows on YouTube, we'd love to have you on. Just click like, and we'll see you next week.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. When you buy your tires at Jackson Tire Service, safety and satisfaction are guaranteed.